former flat earthers, what made you realize the earth is, in fact, not flat? I have an acquaintance I met in the Navy who joined specifically so he could see that the earth was flat while at sea. Every day he would chart the ship's location, speed, heading, etc. a few times a day so he could make a map of their path. Ultimately he realized that the path the ship was taking would be impossible if the earth was flat, based on the distance they were traveling vs their speed. When he finally got skeptical of the earth being flat, his LPO went topside with him and pointed out the curvature by giving him binoculars and explaining that if the earth was flat, he should be able to see the line they were making for. He couldn't see anything off the horizon. After that, he was convinced. Edit. Since this got some traction, he didn't just take a cruise because he was convinced that if he wasn't part of the crew, the bridge crew would lie to him since they would be paid off by the government. Also, his LPO tried to show him the curvature of the earth more than once, but until he realized that the ship couldn't travel the way it was traveling if the earth was flat, he was convinced that the curvature was just an illusion. Dude ended up re-enlisting and is still in the Navy. He's a very successful machinist mate and a really good sailor. He now believes the earth is a globe. Didn't flat earthers do experiments to prove their point that ended up disproving it? Then of course continued believing what they wanted to anyway. I doubt you'll find many, if any, reformed flat earthers. For people like that who are so entrenched within their ideology, the flat earth isn't just something they believe, it's who they are. They have flat earth friends, listen to flat earth podcasts, watch flat earth YouTube, and wear flat earth clothes to their flat earth meetings. Even if deep down, someone like that had an epiphany and realized that they were wrong. Imagine how hard it would be to reject all of these relationships, the community, and the friends that are held together because of that one common belief. It's similar to why it's so hard for people to leave cults or extremist religious or political groups. I got a tattoo about a year ago. The guy was highly rated in tattoo and his photorealistic style was exactly what I was looking for to commemorate my mother's passing 20 years prior. While he is setting up, he puts on the TV and the first thing that comes on is a YouTube channel about flat earth theories. What followed was the wildest 4 hours I have had strapped into a chair with a man going at my arm with a device that stabs my skin hundreds of times per second. What was craziest about him was he had his pilot's license. He flies an airplane. When he goes up, he can clearly see the curvature of the earth. As he explained everything though, it kind of made sense why he would believe it. I can't remember specifics, but I came to realize that all his points would make perfect sense if you were applying them to making 3-dimensional art on a 2-dimensional plane. It was pretty fascinating. The tattoo ended up pretty sick, too. He gave me a discount at the end because I guess no one actually listens to his rants patiently. Edit. To clarify, the tattoo artist was the flat earther. Also edit to add, I have only ever been in an airplane twice in my life and I barely remember either. As someone who entertained but never genuinely believed the idea and went pretty deep down the rabbit hole at distance/time. On a flat earth map, circling the North Pole should be an extremely short trip, while circling the South Pole would be the longest route on the planet. The further south you get, the further apart things should be, and the longer trips would take. The flat earth map really falls apart there. Once they start arguing that time works differently based on location, you know there's no way to justify the argument. Edit. Okay, I get it, time works differently in different locations sometimes, but every one of you duckers that pointed that out knows it doesn't apply to my example enough to explain things. I think my favorite recorded flat earther interaction was when Elon Musk tweeted at the Flat Earth Society and asked them why they believed the earth was flat when we could plainly see that Mars is round. They responded that unlike the earth, Mars has been observed to be round. Hey, something I can finally answer. Not me, but my good friend and roommate fell into the flat earth black hole while in university. Started out as a joke, but then he just fell into it more and more. Eventually I challenged him to do an experiment to figure it out ourselves. We went to opposite ends of a big inlet bay He had calculated the supposed curvature of the earth and figured out that from the distance between us, me at one end and him at the other, we should have a few meters of water between us. We both took some powerful green lasers that he had smuggled back from China in years past. While on the phone, I would shine my laser somewhat into the air, watching to avoid planes and helicopters. Then now that he could see me, he would shine his laser up into the sky and slowly lower it until it disappears, or just me. If it hit me, the earth was possibly flat. Well, it disappeared 3 or so meters above my head every time. He accepted it, and we moved on, besides a brief time where he thought it was refracted from the water. My mother was always getting into crazy conspiracies, and one time she discovered the flat earth theory. She introduced me to it, and I was skeptical at first, but then I tentatively gave it a chance. The videos she showed me were very convincing, using some real science to explain phenomena we see on the earth could happen if it were flat, such as atmospheric refraction causing the sun to disappear beyond the horizon. But I never fully accepted the theory, since I had a relatively good grasp of astronomy and didn't see how some effects could happen on a flat earth. For example, we know there are 2 hemispheres of stars that can be observed from the earth. In the northern and southern sky, it's been well documented throughout history. But if the earth is flat, wouldn't we see only 1 hemisphere of stars from any point on the earth? And then there was some complete nonsense like the moon producing its own light, despite having visible shadows in craters. By asking these questions, my mom eventually realized that the flat earth theory made no sense. My mindset when approaching the theory was we can make observations about how things behave and come up with different explanations for what causes them. So let's compare the flat and globe earth theories and see which holds up better. We both came to the conclusion that the flat earth doesn't adequately explain many of the things we observe on earth. And several weeks later, she ended up watching videos by an airline pilot who debunks the flat earth theory and showed a few to me. Deep down, I think she also had an understanding of how the solar system works, since she used to teach science and math as an elementary school teacher. I even have a model of the solar system we made when I was a kid. So letting go of the flat earth theory was probably easier for her than some who don't know about moon phases or the tilt of the earth, or anything like that. Many flat earthers just lack basic knowledge to begin with, and the flat earth theory fills that void for them. My ex-husband is a flat earther. Literally nothing you can say to him will make him think otherwise, including that damn 15-degree drift. He acknowledges that he doesn't think like everybody else, but insists that everybody else is wrong. I can't tell you the countless hours that I wasted in YouTube rabbit holes with him explaining the logistical ways the earth is flat, and that there is an ice wall encapsulating us to prevent the oceans from pouring over. They are a different breed of people. Edit. A word second edit. Holy cow, this blew up. Now 90% of my karma is due to a comment about my crazy ex-husband, who y'all seem super intrigued by. To answer a few questions, he has had a court-appointed mental evaluation, but refused to get any more help. He has not been diagnosed with any kind of schizophrenia, but I'm almost positive he does have it. Also, to everybody telling me how patient I am, I wish you were right. I gave up eventually, because there was no winning. I sometimes wonder if I had pushed harder, if he would have snapped out of it. But I know deep down he won't. I'm trying to keep up with comments, but there's a lot, and I have 3 young ones. I'm not a flat earther, but my ex was. He believed all conspiracy theories, no matter what evidence I showed him. My ex made me watch an hour-long documentary in which in the last 3 minutes the man said the world is in fact a Mobius strip and that's why no one falls off. I just looked at him after that documentary and could not take him seriously. We broke up soon afterwards. I think I was about 3 when I first saw a globe and had it explained to me. I wasn't entirely a flat earther, but when I was younger, I was falling for everything I could find on the internet. Hollow earth. Flat earth. We're actually inside the hollow earth etc I fell in and out of the belief over time, until I saw a video of an experiment where one group flew a helicopter far out over the ocean and another group watched it with a powerful telescope as it slowly lowered to the horizon. It disappeared behind the horizon, while the helicopter was still a considerable distance from the ground. That ended that phase for me for good. You're asking the wrong group of people. You'll only find people who make fun of flat earthers here. I know 4 flat earthers personally and know that they have other believers in their respective families. Nothing thus far has been able to convince them otherwise. One of them is a magnet, bioenergy healer, and another sells essential oils. Finally a question perfect for me. I became a flat earther for quite a long time, and it was still surprising that I realized that flat earthers is just straight up stupid. Because for me, the fact that we see the earth flat is because it's an illusion of our eyes. And yes, I became a globe earther again and believed in the moon landing again. Edit. Fixed typo. When I was 5 I thought the world was infinite like Minecraft and where I could not see past. I just thought the chunks were still loading. My husband got trapped in a YouTube black hole of flat earth videos for a while. Drove me up a wall. As of recently I discovered he changed his mind. His reasoning? He discovered the majority of flat earthers are Trumpers with extreme political views and who agree with Trump's stupid logic. Husband's flat earth ideas died that day. Round about the time I was at the roundabout, I remember thinking, round here roundness is not just on the roundabout, but about being round. Having rounded down my choices and choosing the round earth, I instantly felt like a more rounded individual. I think for flat earthers it is less about proving the world is flat, but more about to prove that there is a God. And in a certain way I get that you won't let this go. So in the end facts do not matter. I guess you could shoot a flat earther to the moon and they would still find a way to explain that this was just a simulation or whatever. I had a friend, an old guy I used to play pool with. He used to believe the earth is flat until I stepped in and told him something he couldn't explain with a flat earth theory. We was outside the pool club on a late afternoon and I said to him, "Do you see the sun?" He said yes. Then I turned around and said, "Now there is the moon, right?" He looked at the almost half moon and nodded. Then I said, "Why is it that the light from the sun isn't exactly hitting the moon in a straight line? The light reflection on the moon is in a different position." Example of this here link. netnossl.com/wp-content/upload/2015/06/moon terminator illusion. JPG. He was confused. But I explained that it is hitting the moon at a curve. He never said another word about the earth being flat after that day because there is no curves on flat disk-like planets. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, if the earth, the sun and moon were flat, the light would travel in a straight line. There is something like a mental disorder about this. I saw a video about this once. It's like the Matrix. They wanna believe they are near. They are awake, trying to prove to everyone that everything is a lie. That they are so smart they can see it but everyone else is not. They wanna be the heroes of the story and so on. Which drives them into delusions and everything they see or hear seems fake to them. So they end up being the sleep people watching us from the opposite side. Like there is a video, if a guy trying to prove there is no globe, and in the progress he just proves it is. And he just sit there wondering what is going on. Like he probably thinks the light he used to test it is manipulated or touched, like the famous GoPro jump where they think the wide mode on GoPro was created so the earth will look round. I stopped role playing. When I was about 4 or 5 my papa explained, after dark, how the moon orbits the earth and together they orbit the sun. Papa used a baseball and a basketball for the earth and moon and his recliner was the sun. It was a memorable explanation that unveiled many things to me, like way the days are 24 hours and a year is about 365 days divided into 4 seasons and 12 months. In first or second grade it was discussed how explorers sailed around the globe. TBH, I never heard about flat earthers until a little while ago, and I put them at the same level of intelligence as anti-vaxxers. Thanks for watching. Don't leave before leaving a like to this video.